From the heart of Georgia, bringing you common sense each week. It's time for the Edwards Report. Straight talk, good day, that's the Edwards way. Southern stories brightening up your day. Heritage and truth in all that we do. The Edwards Report is here for you.
Hello again, friends, and welcome back. This is Bill Edwards, and you found your way to the second episode of the Edwards Report, a Good Day Weekly podcast. Glad to have you along for the ride. Remember that little tip of the hat to the great Paul Harvey, that good day sign off? It's our reminder to keep things thoughtful, maybe share a story that sticks, and hopefully leave you feeling a little bit better about things. Now, last week, we dipped our toes into the deep waters of Savannah history. Today, I want to wade in a bit further, right back to the very beginning. You know, sometimes I'll be downtown and maybe watching the tourists stroll along River Street, clutching their pralines and their ghost tour flyers, and I think to myself, bless their hearts. They don't really realize that they're walking on the ground soaked in history and, frankly, in blood. Let's rewind the clock. Picture this. It's February 1733. A ship called the Anne sails up the Savannah River. On board is General James Oglethorpe, a fellow with a big idea, a colony built not just for profit, but for folks looking for a fresh start, a place founded on some pretty high-minded principles for the time. And who does he meet? Not some hostile force waiting with muskets drawn, but Tomachichi, a Miko, a chief of the Yamacraw tribe. Now there's a picture, standing right above where City Hall is now, beneath those grand old live oaks that have seen more history than any book could ever hold. These two men, one an English gentleman, the other a respective Native American leader, struck up an unlikely friendship. They put their heads together, and these two fellows from vastly different worlds created something remarkable. Oglethorpe laid out this city, our Savannah, with those famous squares, a grid designed for defense, sure, but also for community, from green space right in the heart of town. And get this, his original charter? It banned lawyers. Imagine that. And more importantly, it banned hard liquor and slavery. Now, we all know those last two didn't stick, sadly. History ain't always pretty, and men's ideas sometimes stumble. But the vision was there from the start, a place for order, tolerance, opportunity. That initial handshake between Oglethorpe and Tomachichi, that was the bedrock. But like I said, Savannah ain't just about mint juleps and moss-draped oaks. The land has seen its share of hardship and conflict. Fast forward just a few decades from that powerful founding right into the thick of the American Revolution. By 1779, the British held Savannah, and the American patriots, well, they wanted it back. Badly. That brings us to the Siege of Savannah. Folks, historians call this the second bloodiest battle of the entire Revolutionary War. And you think about that right here. Forget Yorktown for a minute. Forget Bunker Hill's fame. The fighting here was ferocious. It wasn't just Americans either. We had our French allies, brave soldiers who crossed an ocean to fight for our cause, and something folks often forget, alongside them were the Cheshires, volunteers from St. Dominic, hundreds of free black soldiers from Haiti, fighting for American liberty, and in Polish nobleman Casimir Pulaski, the father of the American cavalry, who tragically gave his life right here in a melting pot of courage, all focused on taking back this city. They stormed the British defenses on October 9, 1779, and it was a disaster. Bloody, awful failure. In less than an hour, nearly 1,000 Patriot and Allied soldiers were killed or wounded. 1,000 souls. You stand near the corner of Bull and Broughton today, maybe grabbing a coffee. You're likely right near where some of the heaviest fighting ever happened, where men fell, fighting for the very idea of America. You know, I often wonder, sitting here right now, what those brave men, American, French, Haitian, Polish, would think. They gave everything on this soil. Would they be proud? Would they scratch their heads at some of the things that we argue about today? It does make you think, doesn't it? When you see folks maybe taking their freedom or this country's history a little too lightly, remember the price that was paid right here on the cobblestones beneath our feet. That founding vision of Oglethorpe and Tomochichi, a place built on cooperation and principle, and later sacrificed during the siege. It's all part of Savannah's story. It's part of American history. It's a story that, with high ideals, hard realities, incredible bravery, and enduring spirit, it's worth remembering, and it's worth protecting. Well, that's a little trip back in time for this week. Thanks for lending an ear. I hope it gave you something to chew on. Maybe next time you're wandering through our beautiful squares, don't forget to subscribe. If you haven't already, tell a friend if you feel so inclined. Until next time, this is Bill Edwards reminding you to have a good day and maybe take a moment to appreciate the history and the sacrifices that paved the way for us. That's a straight talk for today.
That's the Edwards way. Southern stories brightening up your day. Heritage and truth in all that we do. The Edwards Report is here for